Hello everyone, welcome to my presentation. This is from week 1. I'm a student of TESOL online course by Dr. Nellie. Assignment week 1 is presented here. We joined her in the talk about approaches to language instruction and learning, and here comes the role of a teacher. A teacher has to change the complete process towards students, and it has to be teaching learning, not just teaching or not just instruction that way. So we are talking about English, the language, not the subject. And not to forget the takeaway from the session that I attended and I watched it again today, learning is about change, the change which can be defined as improvement. So, the discussion that I have in my mind, the discussion I had with my peers as well, is about the theories which are being discussed in the session and the theories or the concepts which were being presented, explained by her, with which one you identify the most, or maybe you identify with multiple. Actually that happens. And the experience and practice as a teacher, what I do, what I have done as a student, as a teacher of English, what change we need, actually what fails us. I would say that the moment the teacher is going to have a detachment from the language learning process, that's what is going to fail us. The way we deny to adapt and adopt and accept and acknowledge and appreciate the requirement of changes in our methodologies or in our understanding of approaches or concepts or theories. Of course, our denial to learn is the denial which is going to fail us. So that is all call to action, which is being suggested by her as well, and I shall also be advocating it, and I shall be putting a conclusion: the computer assisted language learning, the mobile assisted language learning, and keeping in mind this fumble of mobile assisted language learning, moving on to one thing: who's the master? Teacher assisted language learning. So the moment the teacher is going to assist the language learning, that is going to bring up computer, that is going to bring up the whiteboard, that is going to bring up the smartboard, that is going to bring up the mobile phone as well. So here I am, the student is the prime subject, is the prime force here. So looking at the theories which are being suggested and explained, the six main theories that we had: heutagogy and andragogy. Andragogy is about adult education, where we teach the adults, of course, beyond the teenage. And then heutagogy is about the behavior based learning or the free learning, in which it's a self driven learning. The teacher only remains a facilitator. So that is one thing which is the foundation, I felt. And the pedagogies have moved a long way. I mean, we don't just keep ourselves restricted to pedagogies anymore in TESOL, or be it any language learning. Cognitive also comes to play a significant role, as I feel, in the knowledge assessment. The reason is I need to know what they know. After all, grammar or vocabulary is something which has to be remembered, which has to be put to some use, and you can put something to use only when you have it. Like, you cannot open a lock when you don't have the key. So the conversational methods, which have been the prime thing, cannot be described as a separate theory, I feel. The reason is conversation is the fundamental part of teaching English or teaching any language. So in this modern age, in this 21st century, the third decade, we cannot put aside conversational theories or something as a separate thing. It is part of every theory that we do. So this is the PP formula for PUCP in TESOL. The teaching English as something which is a foreign language or which is a second language to any learner. What is PUCP here? PUCP is the key that I have been learning and I have been using, because my mentors used this on me, is about positive utilization of creative potential. Now, the creative potential is that the student must be knowing one native language, and English goes as a second language. So you need to make use of the creative instincts that the student is already having. So the positive utilization of creative potential makes them speak, makes them join a dialogue with you, makes them do the assignments, makes them do the blogging or podcasting or everything. Now, what is PP? Practice and participate. I must define this thing the way I understand it. The practice of a language, for us English, practice here does not mean to practice in front of a mirror or doing a no audience test of speaking, which is mic testing. I'm testing it and then the audience comes. It is about, like the doctors do. I mean, you learn something and you practice it in the actual environment where you can see what fails, where you see where exactly you're feeling the limitation as well. And then comes the participation part. a man is not an island, so you cannot live away from the world. You have to participate in conversations, interactions, and the culture related theory which was there also comes into picture here, that the cultural reciprocity where you return back. I mean, I'm in Uzbekistan, so I know that the moment salam alaikum comes from my side, or rahmat as a thanks, I mean, shukriya, that way comes from my side, it adds to the connect between us, and that way I become ready because I'm appreciated for 5 words, so I will go on to learn 10 more words, because I know if I'm speaking Uzbek or Russian, by learning just word by word as my other language, not even the second language that way. So that is there. So here the teachers need to craft the students to do this. They don't need to make them do this. They don't need to force them do this. They don't need to manipulate them. It is actually more about crafting them, which is slightly an artistic thing. So the blunt truth, Chomsky also talks about it, and he has been one of the favorite linguistic experts that we talked about in our masters when we were doing it in English literature and languages. So just quoting him as the flag bearer of this particular truth, that we already have a competence in us, it is just required to be like triggered. You need to incite or it, or you have to invoke something. So there's a competence already in us, because human beings are capable of articulating sounds if they hear them. So it is more about listening, speaking, reading, writing. You listen first, then you start speaking, then you start reading, I mean identifying the script, and then you start writing it. So that LSRW remains the fundamental principle here. So because we can listen and we can speak, makes us quite competent to claim that any language can be learned by us. So if one knows one language well, I can vouch upon it, I can argue on it, I have seen it. If you know one language well, it means the practices, you know it, you have a confident grammar of it in your mind. You have a habit, you have a belief in you that you will be fluent in conversation. Learning one more language is easy with responsibility, and this is possible when the learner follows the sincere work concept to learn it. True for anything that we want to learn. And natural to learn is possible. Natural means naturally you are in an environment and you learn, when we learn the natural way. And teachers need to invoke the hidden learning instincts. Anyone can be a teacher. It doesn't mean that we are talking about a teacher in the classroom. So this affirmation comes from my side. In India, I'm from the northern part. Haryanvi, which is a dialect of a northern province or state, is my mother tongue. My parents used to speak that. My neighbors, my friends used to speak Punjabi. So then another one was a Rajasthani language, which was again a kind of a changed version of Haryanvi. Then Hindi also became one thing. Then English also came. So that way, multiple languages are there. And I'm telling you that multiple languages are exposed around us. I mean, we are exposed to them as well. So that is happening. Code switching in real time is very quick in Uzbekistan. Russian and Uzbek, Uzbek to Russian, according to the people, the person you're talking to. And we have a connect and affinity towards students. And the BPO industry in India, or be it in Uzbekistan, they give us the proof that accent changing is possible. Who learns better, children, teens, youth, or adults? I believe anyone who has a child alive in him will be learning perfectly. So these are certain points that I'm presenting to you. What works? Teaching is practical, my dear peer learners, my fellow colleagues, or I would say experts and mentors. Teaching is something which is, of course, a practical thing, but teaching a language is a practical thing. You cannot just put a concept or a word to them and they will learn everything. No, it is through learning something like listening, speaking, reading, and writing. So I learned this thing very beautifully. These questions are there. I hope I have answered these questions, because it's a very harmonious blend of all the theories which is there. I loved from Danilo this particular slide from the presentation on flip. And here I'll say you gain proficiency when you have got a complete maintenance of proficiency and fluency in the earlier language. This is what I had to say. Sustainable learning of English is the call to action from this TESOL first assignment from my side. And please remember, more people than the native English speakers speak English in the world, because they're learning it to speak, to communicate. Thank you very much.